Jaces, Fioras from the West, those guys, they are not squeezing what they need to squeeze for those champions to be good. And what they say is the matchup just isn't as good as we thought it was. But no, that is gaslighting. The matchup is good if you're good enough to push it.
Should fans be excited, I guess is my question?
Absolutely. The world will regret not hiring me.
So I'm joined by the victorious Bwipo after defeating 100 in what seemed like a very chaotic game. You guys had the lead, but it seemed like they were just so close so many different times that like just getting those key kills. How did that game feel to you?
I mean, it was just one of the games where simultaneously multiple people across the Rift were taking risks on our team, and they all paid off at the same time. So the game just exploded into, it was like a quadra kill on Varus. Meanwhile, I got a solo kill top. They practically got like a triple kill or something. Like they got ace the bot side, solo kill top. Boom, first bout of risks completely played into our favor. We also got the early Drakes, so the game just becomes really difficult for the composition if they start falling behind early game. And as a result, we just kind of scaled much faster on our champions than we normally would. And the point in the game where they should be stronger, they ended up being much weaker.
All right. You guys are 4-1 now, and you guys have basically looked really good in all the games that you won. And not too good in that one game, but level 1, what happened bot lane, that kind of happened. So my question to you is, what can we expect from FlyQuest? Should fans be excited, I guess is my question?
Absolutely. I think we're a championship contesting team. Even if we end up losing this week 0-2, I think the ethic and mindset that I've seen out of our players is that to win a split. I think the fact of the matter is that everyone wants to be the best player individually they can be, and that's where it starts and ends. And I think that is what is a championship mindset. It is not to think about the glory of like going on a big stage and trying to win something. It is the mindset of like, I want to squeeze every single inch out of my gameplay to be the absolute best player I can individually be, and that performance translating into your team winning. And that is what I feel out of every single one of my players right now. Obviously, the closer you get to potentially going big and winning a split, the harder it is to get it out of your mind, right? You're thinking of like the big moments. However, I'm excited. If you guys don't want to be excited, don't worry. I'll bring enough excitement for everyone else. So I am fully excited for my team. I think I love the team so far. I'm extremely happy with everyone and everything we do. Obviously, there are arguments. There are things that I want to improve and work on. I don't consider those things to be negatives. I consider them to be conducive to trying to win and doing better. And it's something that I love about the game. Something that I really missed was being passionate about like a certain meta pick. Like you look at me and it's like, who the hell is playing the champions I'm playing? Like, yeah, you'll find someone that like individually plays one of the champions I like playing or multiple, but you'll never find someone that plays the exact same pool as I do. And the reason for that is because I'm very passionate about my meta reads. I think certain champions are much stronger than people give them credit for. The style at which I play them always looks different from everyone else. And that's not on purpose. I just genuinely put way more thought into it than most people would. And it's lovely to be able to talk about someone else's role and bring that passion. And I'm just telling my bot lane, like, this champion is so OP. Like, you do this, and this, and you build it this way, and you take these runes, and this is how you manage the wave, and this is like just explaining them entirely my vision of what an off-meta champion looks like. And then like having that discussion and then slowly seeing them come around. There's a champion right now that is pick or ban in the LCS that I told my team was completely broken. Like, and I explained to them what you want to do in draft, how you want to play it in game, all these stuff, and like they weren't like sold on it. And like as the week goes by, every single day they're like, wait, maybe he was right. And then like that moment for me brings me so much joy because it's like I love that I can open people's minds and slowly win people over with my meta reads. And the fact is, and this is the beautiful thing, when they don't play it and they just tell me, hey, like, no, I really appreciate that. Like, they just tell me, hey, I really appreciate that you do so much research and you're trying to find the best way for us to win, but it's not for me. And then that moment I can just tell them, hey man, that's awesome. Like I just want to help you succeed. So like, I'm not doing that to prove people that I'm right or that I'm smarter. I'm doing it because I really want to help my teammates have the best possible success or like the greatest chance at success because I'm trying to help them explore like meta defining champions, in my opinion.
I love hearing that passion. That's something that you don't see very often, even if people have it. So I really appreciate that. My question to follow up is, how is this different from 2022 Bwipo? Because you are on a star-studded roster. Obviously, that's a little different. You have some rookies now, but you won lock-in. You looked like you went 5 games against 100 Thieves in spring. Looked like you were about to 3-0 EG, and then Danny happens. But yeah, what's different about 2024 Bwipo from 2022, and how are you going to not fail expectations?
I mean, for me, it's like I was just a muted version of myself in the office and in the day to day. Like I wasn't the happy-go-lucky guy that like was way more prepared than you'd expect. I think that's like the number one strength I have is that, you know, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. That's what I believe, and I believe that none of what I do is luck, but somehow, some way, I end up in pretty good situations in game, and it might look like I'm lucky, but I don't think that like when I'm on point and I'm doing the preparation, like I'm running the matchup the way I envision it, the wave management the way I envision it. I do think I'm one of the best laners in the region entirely of the West in general. I always thought I wasn't, but I came to a conclusion after thinking a lot about it last year that I just am. Just the way it is. I always was very consistent in playing my matchups the way I know how to play them. And when I put in a lot of effort into Gangplank, Ornn, Aatrox, these champions are not lane dominant champions. Well, Gangplank used to be, but for the most part, they're like quite strong, or like they're like trying to scale through the laning phase and then show up with 2 items and like are very dominant, right? Maybe they take over the laning phase if you can get like a good situation and you lane well or whatever. But for the most part, they're considered to be 1 and 2 item spiking champions, and then onwards they scale pretty decent. And I think that's like my best skill set is taking weaker early game champions that are spiking hard on 1 and 2 items, in playing them in a way where I kind of omit that weakness, and then I just show up and dominate mid-late game through like very good macro. But I always skipped that preparation part. So whenever I was having a good time, or whenever I was just, you know, I guess getting complacent, that's when you saw me having a bad performance because I wasn't able to consistently lane very well. And I think that is the number one lesson I learned from 2022, and in general, even in the months or weeks that I underperformed in Fnatic way back in when I was playing that. Whenever I was complacent and didn't prepare my laning phases well enough, and I didn't play a very strong laning phase, I would my gameplay would suffer significantly in the mid game because I would not read the map as well, because I would just be reading it from a wrong perspective, and I just wasn't nearly as dominant as a player, or like having nearly as much impact on the map. And that was my number one learning: is you know, be passionate. Get people to appreciate my point of view in the game through arguing with them in a positive and constructive manner, and then be really, really precise on preparing the early game. Like the Darius game I played against NRG, I was not prepared. It was really silly of me. I really regret that. I apologized to my team immediately. Like, I was underprepared to play such a matchup. I didn't have the exact idea of how I wanted to play the lane and which waves I base, how I manage the wave, when I trade, when I don't trade. And as a result, I had a pretty mediocre performance, and it was a great reminder for me, like, this is what makes me one of the strongest players in lane. I am not the traditional talented player in the sense of like, I just show up and I just figure things out on the first go. Absolutely not. I am the type of player where I need to rep a matchup 5 or 6 times, maybe even more, to get the exact idea of how I want to manage the wave, what my base timers are, how I manage everything. And it's just, honestly, I think I wrestle through so many matchups by pure knowledge, like just like knowing how the matchup interacts better than my opponent, knowing which items are like I'm supposed to buy against what, how I want to manage the wave, how I interact with my champion with theirs, how to use jungler to my advantage, how to avoid their jungler. Like, these are the things that I use, kind of wrestle people into submission. And it's why you see when I play Olaf, I play TP Ghost. You know, I'm not the guy that plays Ghost Flash and tries to solo kill you like crazy, like always playing aggressive, because I have a much more calculated way of playing the laning phase. And you can see that when mid games rolls around, turns out my Olaf shows up and it does a lot of damage.
All right, then I do have one more question for you. We've seen a lot of North American teams go internationally and come back, and it almost seems like we don't learn anything from going international. Do you think that that's the case? Why are we not like improving and leveling up from going internationally? And I guess
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I fundamentally kind of agree with that assessment. I think that in general, like I believe Palafox mentioned it as well, like you mentioned earlier. So I fundamentally agree with the assessment. When I've gone to Worlds, I have put in 1,000% every time. The one thing that happens every single Worlds bootcamp is that you show up, you play the same meta that they play usually, or like similar, and then the matchups that you think go a certain way, they don't. It's like they just don't. So you play the same matchup 100 times in EU or in NA. You go to a Korea, and then suddenly it's like, wait, the side that I thought wins doesn't win, or the side that like supposed to do this doesn't. They can't do that because this guy just stops me. He just wrestles me out of doing it. Like he actually doesn't just let me do what my champion wants to do. Like you play Renekton, and you're supposed to be getting plates, blah blah blah, but you can't because the guy is better. He just fights you better. He uses his spells more like intelligently. He lanes smarter. He's just a better player. So you have to either, in that moment, you have to either commit to fighting the guy and learn how to level up, or you concede and you say, well, if we play this matchup, like the matchup just isn't as good as I thought it was. And I think that that moment where you admit, like, this guy can do something I cannot because he's better than me, you lose in a competition. It's as simple as that. If you give any competition a single edge when it comes to matchup, when it comes to anything really, that's what really the definition of competition is, right? If you give your opponents an edge willingly, you're coming in with a losing mindset. And I think that is fundamentally what happens, where players don't push themselves to choose which meta matchups they will show up with and really play to the absolute limit, and then squeeze out that margin that you're supposed to get instead of just saying, oh, the matchup isn't as good as I thought it was. Jace's, Fiora's from the West, those guys, they are not squeezing what they need to squeeze for those champions to be good. And what they say is the matchup just isn't as good as we thought it was. But no, that is gaslighting. The matchup is good if you're good enough to push it. But they don't. So what I did as a player professionally is I had played the opposite. I said, well, I agree the matchup from that side is still really good, but I don't know if I can squeeze hard enough against these players. They're pretty fucking good. I'm going to play the orange side and make them squeeze me. I'm going to play the Gangplank side and make them squeeze me. And when they try, I win. That's me. That's me at Worlds. You can look at through all my Worlds games. I'm always the guy playing the Urgot. I'm playing the Ornn. I'm playing the Victor. I'm playing the Gangplank. I'm the scaling player. I never played matchups that have to win early game to see success on the world stage. And I fundamentally believe that moment where I made the decision of do I play to beat my opponent and squeeze out the absolute maximum of what my champion can 1v1, I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm forcing him to attack me. And especially through kind of some misdirection, where I, for example, would play Volibear and my runes would be full scaling with Conqueror. Normally, everyone's playing Grass Volibear, full early game champion. I'm playing Conqueror Volibear with Doran's Ring, scaling into the moon, going for Trinity Force Death Dance. Everyone was dizzy. They were like, what? This guy is so strong late game, right? Because I employed some misdirection. I knew that if you played Volibear or Renekton and you didn't run a scaling rune setup, you had to beat the Renekton early and you had to like squeeze an advantage. But that was difficult. That's very difficult to do against the best players in the world. So I flipped the script. I told them I'm going to pick Volibear into Renekton and they're going to think I need to push a lead, but really, it's the opposite. So basically, what I'm saying is don't give your opponents an edge, and the second you admit to giving them an edge, you lose.
That's awesome. I love how you're just like, tables have turned. What are you going to do about it?
Exactly. So that was the strat. That was my strat. It's worked very well for me at Worlds. It's why a lot of people are like surprised when I play so well at Worlds, when like sometimes I have like a meh regular split or a meh playoffs. At Worlds, I always showed up because I had so much time to run the reps that I mentioned earlier in the interview, where I'm just running the reps of every matchup like a million times, and I know exactly what I want to do and how I'm going to use my knowledge to play better than my opponent in every little scenario, in every situation. And I mean, honestly, yeah, I wish I had that kind of drive to do it in the regular split, but like at the same time, it's like, holy man, it takes so many hours and it takes so much effort and dedication. And it's been hard for me to have that same level of like intensity in a regular season compared to obviously a world championship. So that's something that I've always been trying to chase, to like find that intensity, to be truly an expert on every matchup that I'm going to play on stage. Because I would say that I was like, whenever I played the matchup on stage, I was just a complete expert, like there would be no one that surprised me. And Yeah, that's why I've always been a very successful player at Worlds, and sometimes you've seen me run it down against some random teams in LCS or LEC. So it's just the way it is. I know myself better now, and I think that's a huge strength of mine, and why I'm very grateful that FlyQuest gave me a chance to prove myself, because I will not let it go in vain. The world will see. The world will regret not hiring me. I mean, maybe they won't. I don't know, but they will see that I'm one of the best players in this region, and any region I decide to join.
Just word to the fans, why should they be FlyQuest fans?
Honestly, there's no need to be in a rush. If you want to be a FlyQuest fan, you can wait until after we win a split, or we, captivate you with our meta reads. I think both me and Inspired have some really awesome champion picks. So if you're someone that enjoys exciting champions, you enjoy gameplay that can be very explosive. Something that I really appreciate about Inspired is we can both farm for 20 minutes and then just put our foot down and say, no, we're fighting. This is it, and we just initiate a crazy 5v5 and just send it. And that is like a genuine skill that I've missed in my teams, because in the past that was always Hilly. Me and Hilly would always just, even if it was a slow game, we knew how to turn on the gas and really send it and create really great situations 5v5. So if you like exciting gameplay, I think FlyQuest is the place to be. We're very intelligent players. We play a smart game. We read the meta very, very I think our meta reads are very, very smart. And I don't know. Just if you like nature, you like people having fun, FlyQuest is a place to be. You want to be a FlyQuest fan.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You gave me some awesome quotes to use as a title, and I'm excited to see you at Worlds, and hopefully Worlds Finals again.
Thank you so much, brother. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. Bwipo was amazing to interview. He's the first person to ever say, what can I do to make this interview worth for you? I want to make this time worth it for you. And he even stayed extra to answer my last question. So I'm very, very grateful to him. I had 8 interviews in one day, which has not happened to me before. Usually the entire week I might get 8 interviews. So it was a very fun experience. 6 of them, surprisingly, were with top laners. So that was funny to see. As always, hit that like button if you like the video, and definitely subscribe, because LCS after this is going on a 3-week break, and I have so much content coming out during that time, so you don't, feel like you're missing out. And I also have a trash talking video coming out tomorrow, so you definitely don't want to miss that, so subscribe.